Good everyone, my name is Sophie Weenink, I'm 15 years old and today I will be covering my own activism story, our response to climate change, what it means for future generations, and how we can make a real difference at fixing these issues. So my own activism journey probably began when I was about 8, when I made my mum take me to a political protest. I think my mum knew she had an activist on her hands at that point. She hid behind me while I passionately waved my sign to the crowds. I thought it was the best day ever, so even to this day I attend many conferences and seminars and often get asked by adults who I am with. And I often reply with myself. I love to learn and I encourage you all to take every opportunity you can and listen to them. And learn more about them. There's so much happening in Nelson and we regularly have amazing speakers. So yeah, and when I was 13 I was snorkeling at Cable Bay and I looked down and saw a potato chip packet floating next to a sea cucumber. That was my first time seeing a sea cucumber, and it was really upsetting to see its natural habitat being disturbed. And I thought about it and I decided to organise my own beach cleanup at Te Hunanui, knowing that there's a higher foot traffic. Little did I know this would escalate. I imagined 10 to 15 people. As I started to plan the Facebook event, lots of people were saying they were going, and eventually we got up to 120 people saying they were going. On July 7th, 2019, over 200 people came along to the beach cleanup. We collected over 200 kgs of rubbish. It was a total shock because no one expected we would get this much. Oh, right. Yeah, there we go. That day led to so many other amazing opportunities and meeting our amazing community that we have around in Nelson. I now organise cleanups at the Maitai River and also the Te Hunanui beach. That beach cleanup made national news and even Reader's Digest wrote about it in an article, and that went all over Asia and Australasia. I still get emails and messages from people across the world saying I have inspired them to do their part for our planet. Young people in Asia have told me that they have given up hope and now will press on to make a difference. I want you to know, you may think you are just one person, and what difference can you make? My message to you is if a 13-year-old girl can bring people together in Nelson and make a change, then absolutely anyone can. Ever since then, I have tried to make steps towards making better decisions in life to help our environment. We don't need a handful of people making change perfectly. We need millions and millions doing it imperfectly. Hopefully I can help you make small steps towards our overall big goal and how you can organise your own beach cleanups too. Our response to climate change over the last couple of years has been looking better, but if we want to make a real change, we need to become more sustainable with our purchases. As you can see, I have a lot of energy and I'm healthy, and being vegan has never affected that. There's also so much vegan food too, in Nelson especially. For example, the vegetarian butcher, who makes the best vegan food. You can sample Maria's food at the local farmers market. Take your own containers with you too when you go shopping, and use bulk bins. I love the organic shop on Collingwood Street, and my mum loves Kush coffee. Eki herbal teas have compostable packaging and loose tea leaves from the farmers market. The Green Collective is a small Nelson company that sells compostable cloths and produce bags for the supermarket. I have a picture just up here, you can have a look. I take my own metal straws, coffee cups and drink bottle everywhere, and I ask shops to use them when I purchase. If you are able to, I encourage you strongly to walk, bike and bus. I took the bus here today from Nelson Central. My mum and I walk everywhere and bike everywhere. All of these things may seem like they won't make a big difference, but They are crucial things that you can do as a person to make a difference. If we don't start to make these changes in the next 10 years, we will not be able to reverse these issues. The future generations who will live on Earth will not be able to reverse these issues. Do we want to prevent the problems, or are we going to be known to future generations as the generation who made it worse? We have to step up, not only by demanding our leaders do better, but doing better ourselves, encouraging friends and ourselves not to buy from big companies such as McDonald's, KFC and more. The plastic waste, resources and much more that these companies will not help our fight. In fact, a lot of the companies do this thing called greenwashing, where they say a product is eco-friendly when it's really far from it. I must say one of my biggest frustrations with my fellow youth is that many are not stepping up to making change. We can't talk about climate change and march for change. Every single one of us needs to educate others and really walk the talk. What I would like to do is help as many of you today, or watching on Zoom, to spread the word with as much positivity as we can. I would love for you all to message me on Facebook, on my Ecogirl NZ page, or you can talk to me afterwards and get my email address. I have a lot of information for you to spread, and useful resources for you. I can teach you how to organise your own cleanups. I can tell you about how to volunteer for organisations such as Waste No More. And I can talk to you about our incredible local composting group. I want you all to really set out to change people's thinking. Remember, I'm 15 years old, just an ordinary Nelson girl. Thank you so much for listening, and I can't wait to unite with you and be the change we wish to see.
Sit down quietly. No, yes. Who has a question for Sophie? Oh, Jessie's coming.
In my day, I'm 15.
There's no excuse, Sophie.
Thank you, Sophie. Are we out?
Yes, I think so.
I'm very interested in your comment about a lot of your sort of peer group who aren't doing very much because, having been part of that generation, been accused by your generation of getting it all wrong. One of my many jobs includes cleaning, and I cleaned at a house where they had two vegan Save the World twins, but there are at least 15 to 20 bottles of shampoos, face washes, and they might be organic, but they're not always, you don't need that many. But that's one of the issues I've really noticed in your age group, but I don't know, I'd like to hear how you think you can, if you've got any comments regarding that.
Of course. So I completely understand what you mean. We really need to, talk about this as a generation because I find that a lot of people attend the climate strikes, but then they won't give up a Saturday afternoon or a Sunday afternoon that I have made sure that there's no sporting events on for to come to a beach or river cleanup, which is really important for me. And I'm not here to bash our generation. I think there's a lot of things that we've done that have really pushed the government to do more, but everyone needs to step up to this. And there's also a disconnection from, as you were talking about shampoo bottles. For me, I'm trying to use the soap bar conditioner and shampoos, but yeah, there's really a disconnection from where that's going to go and what's going to happen with it. So yeah, really good question, thank you.
Becky, over to you.
Hi Sophie. Really great to see you standing and speaking so well in front of a group of people. I'm 30 and I still struggle with it. So I just wanted to ask in relation to what you just said, what do you think is the biggest barrier that you've experienced in all generations, not just your own generation, to actually getting involved with climate action?
Thank you. No, that's a really good question. I find the biggest barrier for everyone is getting over sort of, I guess, there's many different ways of putting it. If we're thinking about if someone's going to attend a clean-up, right, the biggest barrier for someone is that they think it's not their problem. I find that with every single generation, they'll go, oh, well, I put my rubbish in the bin, it's not my problem. But even with my family, I try to get them all to go towards being greener, and we've got a very different age range in the family, and every single one of them thinks it's not their problem, and it's a fight that we all have to face, and we can't just push the blame onto other people. So, yeah, that would be, I think it is.
Oh, thank you.
Hi Sophie, no, great to hear you speak. One of the issues I think, we've got in New Zealand is the emissions in the transport sector. And so in a couple of years you'd be able to get a driving licence. And it's one of the first big things that people do is they invest and they buy a car. And we seem to think we've got a God-given right to drive cars and have our individual, ability to go and do all sorts of things. So, we've been talking about EVs and all the rest of it, but there's a whole load of energy that goes into making all the vehicles. That's a big challenge in terms of changing behaviour and outlook in respect to that. So what do you think we can do in terms of, Nelson it's a little bit easier because you've got more bus services, but I live out in Tapawera and it's challenging for young people out in those areas for jobs and getting into doing things. How can we address that issue of transport and with the younger generation, the generation coming up? Because if you change the behaviour at the start, then it's for the future and for their children. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, no, of course. I find that, especially the council, I know there's a few councillors in the room today, we really need to push the council as well to do as much as they can, and then we have to do our part. For me, I recently, invested in an electric skateboard. So you'll see me zooming downtown just on my skateboard, but it's one of those things where we have to start bringing young children up to not want a car, if that makes sense. I find that for me, I guess my family was we didn't really know too much about the environment, and we were just like, yeah, cars, really want one, gotta get one, and now I'm looking at it and I'm like, well, what am I gonna do without a car? But I've never had a car, so I think we really need more bus services as well. We may have a good bus service, but even today I came out and then I quickly walked down here because I was going to be late because I got off the bus and then, so I think we need buses going at regular times for everyday people.
Please. The most enthusiastic smile sometimes gets the question.
Kia ora, Sophie, congratulations on all your achievements. I guess following on from the question down the front and the bottles, do you think that's a little bit the education system, or the education around environmental issues is very much, or my observation would be it's very much focused on recycling, and teachers talk about how we should recycle and all kids therefore go, that's okay, I'll recycle them. And just hearing recently from someone talking to the Ministry of Education who have said, oh no, kids don't really want environmental issues in the curriculum. So how do you think the environment is integrated in your education?
So my first year at high school, I went into social studies, and for about a couple weeks, maybe 4 weeks, we focused on the environment. It was a very broad topic. There was no depth and meaning into it, and I had already had my interest for the environment before this, but I could see just all of my classmates losing interest in it. I really find that in the curriculum we don't talk about the environment enough, as much as people don't want to hear about it. We can't recycle our way out of this problem. Recycling it's alright, but it's not going to fix this problem. We have to be really stepping up, as I've said, to the challenge of composting and getting our food locally, because this is not going to work. I don't have any environmental subjects at school, options for me. I would love to do environmental science, but currently I'm doing drama, digital tech and art photography, so they're very different to what I would like to be learning about, but I love those subjects. So, yeah.
And once again, I might take the last question. A lot of these questions and your responses have talked about barriers, and a common theme seems to be about it not yet being normal to do things in the way that needs to be done. And I'm looking out at this room of people who are really keen to help make it normal, to do that transformation to something, a new normal. And I'm wondering, with all these adults here and some young people who have connections with organisations that work with young people or who affect you in some way, who are parents, grandparents and so on, what would you like from the adults around you to help make this new normal happen?
Oh, that is a really good question. Oh my goodness. So everyone in this room, I can see that you all have a passion to be here, and it's a really good energy in the room as well. And I really just a little clap for all of you. It's honestly so amazing to see you all here today. But I think something that we could all do to step up is just making some of these small daily changes and eventually getting to that bigger goal of, being sustainable as a whole. I really encourage you to buy your food locally and what's a little quicker. Make your own food from things in bulk bins and go op shopping. I actually op shop this dress. It's definitely the way to go, and they may seem like they're very small and insignificant, but they are truly some of the best things that you can do as a person. Thank you.